Okay. Well, just some information about tonight before the next session starts. As we mentioned this morning, we are inviting you for a dinner cocktail at 7:30, okay? So 7:30, we meet here in the Palacio for dinner, and at 9, we are going to have the dance gala, okay? So for the dance gala, your ticket is already in your folder. Please make sure you keep it in your pocket and you don't leave it at the hotel, because other people will be buying tickets to come in, and your ticket is already in your folder. Also, we are going to start, actually, it's 4 p.m., and I'm going to invite Daniel Lopez Serrano on stage. We have Satyapal Singh connecting from Dubai. So I hope the production is checking he's connected. Then we have Miss Damarys Zampini. I don't know if Damarys is already with us. Damarys? Yeah, I know she arrived to Salamanca, but I don't know if she's already with us in the Palacio, so we'll text her. Then I'm also inviting on stage Ms. Dr. Divaldo Rezende. Divaldo? Yeah, thank you. And Professor Dean Rakic. Yeah, that's good. You're most welcome on stage. And last but not least, Dr. Bel Gacem Raggad. One important information, we need to leave this room before 5:30 because the dance gala will need to set the floor, so we need to clean the space for them. This is why I'm rushing a little bit, sorry for that. Okay, so is production, can you tell me if Satyapal Singh is connected? Okay, so we can start with Satyapal while the microphones are equipped. Welcome, Satyapal. Nice to see you. Can you hear us?
Hello. Hello, hi, good afternoon, good evening.
Good evening. You are in Dubai, right?
Yes, I am close to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, which is the capital of UAE. So yes, okay. Once again, good evening, everyone, and I'm pleased to join this wonderful Congress being held under the patronage of Peace City World Congress, and I'm also sorry that I couldn't make it in person. I was supposed to be there, but due to the certain visa issues, that I have to attend this conference virtually. I hope I'm going to take you through a wonderful understanding of how we are talking about the future cities for human values. So let me just present here, and then we will take it forward.
Are you using your presentation, or we have already a presentation on site?
Yeah, I'm using my presentation here. So I'm going to cover today the future cities for the human values. And before that, I can just introduce myself, Satyapal Singh, in the capacity of CEO and Director and Entrepreneur at Global Energy and Environmental Engineering Services, based out in Abu Dhabi, Masdar City, UAE. So I hold almost 15 years of consulting experience working for the sustainability sector, including the sustainability design, environmental assessment, waste management system designing, air quality modeling, clean energy advisory, sustainability reporting and strategy, policy and guideline development for the various public and private institutions, and have worked on multiple projects related to Pollution Control Board, UNFCCC, World Banks, industrial bodies, and so on. And this experience covers in UAE, Oman, KSA, Qatar, Malaysia, and India. And during the past 15 years, I have worked almost 250 plus clients and delivered 700 of plus projects related to sustainability. And some of these include that's related to the sustainability have contributed significantly and have been featured in the multiple magazines and also recognitions for different type of contribution. And under my capacity, we have taken this sustainability sector in both with proven value added solutions and deep competency and the green building consultancy, environmental, renewable energy, waste management, sustainability, carbon footprinting, government services, leads and well building, health and safety, power smarts, and technology consulting. So this is how like while working over 15 years, and we realize that okay, are we moving in the right direction for designing any building, community, or society, or the city? And that's where this whole need arises. While I have work on multiple assignment for design to construction supervisions to operations, and I'll just take you through to the background that what probably we might be missing when we are currently designing any new buildings or the society for us. And as we know, like humans evolutions have been for over millennia, have been from the caves to agricultures to gradually to move to the modern age kind of the buildings. And over a period of times, we realize that if we just remove for the last couple of centuries, human civilization has been probably with the lesser rate of utilizing the environmental resources than what we are using in the past couple of centuries. And that's where this needs comes. And we see during the age of hunter gathering and farming, we were united with the nature and we were part of nature. And that during the age of industry, our separation from the nature began. And as maximizing the profit became the main and pretty much only goals since the first report of the club their own and the limit to growth. And if we see in the 1970s, throughout the information age, we realize that even the earth has experienced a lot of change in its history, and earth has never changed too fast in such short period. And that's where like okay, all these summits related to earth summits or earlier Kyoto protocol or ODS related summit, and then right now which is the active age Paris agreement to mitigate the climate change to the whole globe. And all the changes are man-made, and the consequence of the humankind actions and will in turn have consequence for the humankind. And that's where we are today. And if we see that from early humans to ancient civilization and middle age and post 70s, that's how our life had changed from human silt. This has changed over a period of times, and the current way of living that we live, we probably don't know that it is not the result of the energy that we are putting right now, but is the but it is the outcome of thousands of years that our forefathers has um, thought the idea to design a society or to develop a cities and so and this is the outcome of the work that we do see right now. And it is the outcome of thousands of years of the research and thought process and in efforts and in the way that we are living. And if we see in the current way, or let's say if we consider the current nature of living, that we are almost spending 90% of our times in the indoor environment. And that's where the whole issue is coming up, that are we really ready to cope up the external environment, or are we trying to create the man-made environment and which is suiting to us only, or it has to be in the balanced way where we even go out of the our house and we don't feel that oh where we have come, whereas our millions of years the humans have been exposed to the nature environment, and they had such kind of resistance powers to cope up with the environment. And as over a period of time we see that we have developed the indoor environmental system for the human comfort. And that's where like okay, we have started looking to this topic, that what kind of the city has to be there for the human values now. As like we have the multiple option right now. We can say probably a couple of centuries ago that humans were not probably having such options, that what to choose it. Like okay, right now we do have lot more options, and we have to start thinking that really we do need to do this such some kind of new research, or we have to rearrange the way that probably the options which are available for us, which could be for the betterment of the human society or to the values. And that's where we are. And that's how the things are moving from industrial revolution to post industrial revolutions. And right now the huge efforts are being there to buildings well-being, or human well-being, and building to design from the human health point of view. So that's where the current things comes into the pictures. And if we see from the late age of the industry, where the self-interest was maximizing the profit, and then age of information, it was more of mitigating the damage and social equity. Right now, it is the age of integrating, and that's where the sustainability is coming into the picture, maximizing profit, regenerating the nature, build equity, and create beauty. Uh, so important things comes into designing the building or society or the city, that are we making sure that we are creating the natural environment, or we just want to be in the indoor environment, which is the human made environment. Okay, and there's a lot more efforts which are being put up to create the indoor environment for the humans, and where we have started living and enjoying probably that this is the realistic environment, which is not the case actually. Okay, and that's where like okay, today we are coming into the picture, that how to integrate the external or natural environment with the our society development. And it also need to integrate the health oriented things. And for examples, if we see there is a study, for examples, I am based out in Middle East, and where there is a good number of sun hours, but if we see there is a highest number of the vitamin D deficiency women's here, in spite of there is a good number of sun hours. Okay, probably that consideration has not been given, that yes, uh, that it can be fulfilled in the morning and evening hours, and the designing of the building could be in a way that where you get such sunny hours. And we cannot look the building or any kind of society from the facade point of view. It has to be always looked from the human health, and from the millions of years that humans have been living in the environment, that how to make sure that wind and then suns and all these become the integral part of the any resident or any occupant who lives in the building, that they get it, and these are the kind of the rights for them, rather than like okay, creating the environment which is going to be very conditioned and very kind of just comfort point of view, which might take their body to a level where you start realizing that it is not able to cope up with the external environment, and which happened the case actually. If we see even in the Gulf environment, now they have started enjoying the indoor environment so much that going outside become for them as like it is kind of some foreign words. So that's where like okay, these things come into the picture, that are we really looking the buildings or the society to design from the human point of view, or from the architect point of view, where these looks very nice and good. And um, and to us, what we see that any new buildings of society need to take care of that increased vitamin D, improved mood, and higher sleep quality, stronger bones, lower blood pressure. And these are the certain things which can also be linked with the type of the society that we do develop. And that is entirely in the hands of the designers in the beginning, when we are conceptualizing these such buildings or the societies, and this is very important consideration to take into the account. What we do see also that any new society must keep that okay activity performing platform, which should not be only the place which is away from their residing area, and then certain peoples can only perform the activity to the dedicated place. Rather than these could be the part of the pockets and the society that like okay we do develop. Uh, we see the entertainment and technology evolutions have been quite active in the past 30 years, because since the internet age comes into the existence, which has revolutionized the transmission of the informations, and most of the new generation people spend a substantial times on our gadgets, and which is probably in the short terms looks very good, but in the long terms could be very negative in terms of our effects on the eyes, or even from the mental well-being point of view, and also not having the social interaction due to the everything that they do see on their gadgets. So that's how uh, so that's how the things are developed so far. So it is very important that we do have to relook and then see that their abundant of uh, options are available and how to use in the best way for them. That's very important, and that's very challenging also in the current age of information. And now that's come how to make the interactive between the life with the society and the environment, and that's where that you start living enjoying. You should not become the slave of the current modern system to work for the system, rather than to enjoy this system which is made for the human's welfare and for the human comfort. So that's where my points remain in the today's any kind of the design development which we perform for the any of the clients, and then we think that these are the very important aspects to take into consideration. And
Thank you,
uh,
Satyapal.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So,
I hope you will share a PDF with our guests.
yeah, sure. Like, okay. Yes. So we'll be sharing this presentation, and if there is anything which I can also have the further.
That would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Satyapal. Highly appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So now we are going to invite on stage actually Mr. Daniel Lopez Serrano, CEO at You Forget Me. You want to use this microphone?
Yeah.
Yes, that would be great. You know, the most threatening thing with smart cities is that people have all information about ourselves. So as long as it is used for our benefit, it's fine. But who knows how these all personal information are going to be used? So please help us understand that smart cities are really serving the interests of people and not a threat.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to do it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good evening. Thank you so much, Peace City World, today, to having me here. Grateful to the organization, for the team behind the scenes, and the executive board to consider our abstract to include it during this Congress. Okay, this is me. I'm very honored to represent my team and share with all of you our vision about digital inclusion and division gap. Since 2020, I'm leading You Forget Me, a startup company focused on digital privacy. Our life and our life depends on the current digital era. As human beings, our society is configuring a citizenship based on new reality, the digital transformation. In terms of society, our digital me has born. Internet will convert in a digital human network. We are all experimenting this change in our daily basis. We use technology to connect, work, and share with family, colleagues, and friends. The pandemic of COVID has changed a lot our life. This reality makes change in the way that we join in the society. I'm talking based on the following figures. 62.5% of population are using internet. 37.5% are unplugged. Almost 7 hours is the average time using internet daily. Currently, a third part of our life is in internet and digital environments. From 70% in Democratic Republic of Congo and 99% in Denmark, the internet adoption is evidently a proof of digital division. Based on the digital economic exposure 2022, digital public services are increasing. In 2013, in European Union, we are committed to reach 100% of online public services. It's in magic how much we can do and how far we can reach thanks to digital transformation. In contrast, we are discovering a truth. We are creating a new way to live, changing the physical world to a virtual world. To lean on an analogy, we see this reality such we did with the transport revolution in the second half of the 19th century. Furthermore, if we want to take the advantage in this revolution, we need to foster a new culture, new values for citizens, and of course, we need to regulate and normalize our digital me, as we did with the traffic regulation, through the driver's licenses or the road assistances. In general, a new way to drive our life on internet. With this analogy, we want to introduce the concept of digital accident. That means a situation that users must confront and must know how to allow for. Cyberbullying, doxing, sexting, catfishing, identity fraud. There are, in average, 97 cybercrime victims per hour. That means there is a victim cybercrime every 37 seconds. In addition, two internet users have had their data leaked every second so far in 2022. This is an improvement over 2021, where 6 users had their data leaked every minute. For all this reason, we are leading an initiative with the local government in Seville, my city. It's in the south of Spain. This is the main capital in Andalusia. And we lead this initiative to foster in a citizen program based on privacy, awareness, and reliable use of digital services. We are talking about digital inclusion. Scale up and train citizens to take advantage of digital public services and fight the digital divide. But let me rewind a little bit. Digital transformation is creating a digital division into the society. What happens with people who doesn't trust on internet? What happens with people who has been banned by an algorithm? Or with people who has suffered a cybercrime? And with people involved in a data breach? We see internet as a human network, and we must create safe digital spaces, cultures and trust based on digital values. We must assure that internet is the road instead the goal. Our proposition to the government of Seville is a proposition to, to fostering a culture of commitment involving all the stakeholders. The proposal will put into common City Council, leading as European capital the commitment to digital citizenship and trust in the field of data industry. Citizenship, obtaining skills in matters of knowledge and execution in the field of awareness, in the processing of their data personal and the right to protect their digital privacy. Environment, we are configuring an environment with a full digital trust. This proposal and lean on the international strategy agenda will benefit to this ODS, 70 partnership between public sector, local and community government, and extension to private, ODS 16, accessible justice and citizen right, ODS 9, new productive model for the development of a high intensity of ICT industry, ODS 3, prevention of cyberbullying, sexting, stalking, doxing, that led problems of anxiety, addiction and social exclusion, and the reduction of the suicide rate due to this matter. ODS 8, economic growth for quality, employability, and international projection to attract innovation and talent. A little bit for volume, please.
Sharing our experiences and emotions, feeling closer to people who are far away, previously unimaginable collaborations, but 64% of users say that they are concerned about the treatment of their data and the information that is had and how it's used. How far does privacy control go? What happens when another person publishes, shares, or creates content where you appear on the internet on their social networks? The digital footprint is in our lives at all stages, and so we're going to see it. Parenting, cyberbullying, and grooming. When we are teenagers, this situation does not change, it increases, and this creates new associated risks such as stalking, cyberbullying, and sexting. Already in adulthood, the digital footprint has a decisive impact on our professional progress and representation as an individual in situations such as identity theft, digital reputation, or where ideology is being tracked for statistical purposes. You4Get.Me has developed a technological platform that allows you to obtain a digital footprint report. The eruption.
I would like to invite to all of you to be aware about your digital privacy and your digital footprint. If you want to take the change during the Peace City World, you can download and obtain your digital footprint report as fast and easy as a wink. It is available in the official marketplaces for iOS and Android. And as simply as taking a picture, you can obtain, classify, and qualify your digital exposition. Thank you so much. Hoping that your digital privacy takes relevance in your life. Please don't forget it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Daniel Lopez. We are honored to have with us Mrs. Damarys Zampini. She is CEO at Strategy, and she would talk about true sustainability, business, human trust, and vetted technologies. Mrs. Damarys, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Oh, that's very loud. Thank you very much. I got a little bit lost walking here, but I, had the luxury, pleasure, and freedom to walk here, so it was wonderful. Thank you very much for having me. This seems like a very deeply part of what I do on a daily basis, so I was very excited to talk about the topics at hand. I've got just a very high-level presentation around sustainability. My name is Damarys Zampini, as he said. I am a Latin American-born Canadian. I always joke and I say, home is where we pay our taxes. So I am a Canadian, now living here in Europe, and I go back and forth. I'm extremely passionate about sustainability. I do a lot of involvement into smart city integration. And so I'm going to dive a little bit into parts of how I pull different parts from my world, which extends from the Americas to Europe to Middle East and a little bit into Asia. I don't see in borders, colors, gender, or anything like that. I was very pleased to be raised to not see that. So for that reason, I think we have a world full of opportunities. So if we can flip to the next one, please. I'm going to get into the agenda.
Do you have to?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. So I want to talk about these 4 quick topics, and I could talk about them all day, so I have to watch my clock. I first want to ask people to, show of hands, when we think about sustainability, do we think about the planet? Do we think about the advances of health? We can't live without health. And technology. All the technology that we have to pull us together so I don't have to be really loud like I am with my kids on a stage like this. Just simple things. Great. And why do we think about all of these things coming together and all of the technologies such as smart cities? Oh, let me just go back here. Sustainability in smart cities. We think about technologies coming together and we think about all the augmented reality things and the IoT and the e-mobility and electricity and all energy. Now, we can have all of these things. We can have all the wealth, all the money in the world. But is that actually going to make us better? Is that actually going to make sure that we are better humans inside? I've just finished reading a really interesting book that talks about how much better we are today than we were even 10 years ago, how much longer we're living due to all of these things. But many countries, especially more advanced countries, are adversely less happy. So that brings me to my thought and my question and my point around sustainability and how do we actually integrate all of these things so that we have better environment, we have better health, we have more access to technology, knowledge, but we're able to integrate that in a form where we can also respect each other. When I incorporated 10 years ago, after leaving big corporate Americas, I really, really pondered on this aspect of business. As a little girl, I always was obsessed with environment, trees and rivers, and I was born in a very rich ecosystem with all of these things. And we would go for walks, and I just remember thinking how everything intertwines together. The little plants, the mushrooms, it all makes little channels, and I used to follow those little channels when there was rain as a little kid. I didn't come from much, and so we made a lot of our own toys and our own fun. And just following those little channels, thinking how it all actually integrates so that big tree is like over 300 years old, still growing and sustaining, and all of its friends and ecosystems around it. And so when I really thought about sustainability as a planet, I then, and really pondering on the aspect of corporate, which I love, don't get me wrong, but I think about how do we respect each other? How do we augment each other so that if I know more, I can tell you more? And if you know more, you can tell me more. And for that, we can be happier and we can be richer. So I really, if I can talk about any type of technologies, I want to come back to the actual technology parts of it, and I feel like I can go next. The technologies at the end of the day, and this is one of my favorite quotes, trust really is the highest form of human motivation. It brings the very best in all of us. But it does take time and practice. And the fragile part of it, just like ecosystems, it can also be broken very quickly. And so now I want to come back to the actual IoTs, the e-mobility, the energy, the water, the things that we cannot live without, that we have to respect and really try to put together in a way that they are not so fragile, so that we can protect them for that long sustainability. And that is, we look at the world that we live in today, where we've come from, what we can do, the little luxuries that we have on a day-to-day basis are really, truly something we all take for granted. And I have to say that with truth, because I was just talking about, land and access to food and access to education systems. I was born in El Salvador, Central America, which most people probably didn't know where it was until, of course, it became the first country on the planet to accept Bitcoin as its actual official currency. And I went to Canada when I was a very little girl. So, I come from two very different worlds, but I, again, see the differences back to the human factor. I worked many years in oil and gas, Western Canada, Western Sedimentary Basin, where a lot of technology innovation was born. I have seen more innovation come out of oil and gas industry than any other industry in my life. I still remain very in touch with the energy ecosystem in Canada and to the world. One thing that we did for certain there was measure the impact, right? Because today we talk about ESG, and all those aspects are massive. The S is something that I'm really, really passionate about, because I think that we figured out the technology. If we have a problem, There are so many incredible human beings that can make a solution. I am blessed to work with incredible brains, way smarter than me, way, way, way smarter than me. And I bow down to them every day because of their innovation and the level of skill that it takes to bring these innovations to life. I'm talking about nanotechnology into cement that will give it survival for another 30 years. I'm talking about decarbonizing cement and making it 200 times stronger. We have that today. Solar integrated into the ground. Nanotechnology for women health and youth, that we go through all of these challenges. So much in our lives has already has an answer. It's a matter of us getting out of our own way and integrating these things so that we can actually enable a world for better. But back to the integration part, we get in our own way often because we get so caught up into making something so perfect. And sometimes it doesn't have to be perfect. And also sometimes it doesn't have to be competing. If I made a technology that may be in alignment with yours, let's work together. And I see this all the time in my professional life. That's part of what I do from our fund perspective and also from our technology integration perspective. Specifically when we look at large clients, projects in different parts of the world, such as the Middle East, for example, where they have a ton of investment money in dollars to put to work. But just because we have all the money in the world doesn't mean that we have all the ideas. And so idea capital and capital to be able to vet technologies to the deep level that it is commercially viable today is very key. But the next key part is, how do we put these things together so that they work together rather than one piece is working here, another piece is working there, and then another one maybe we left behind. All boats race when the water and the tide rises. And so we need to think about that analogy and think about competition and competitiveness is something really of the past. Co-creation, which is really nurtured by trust, and being able to integrate these technologies is really something of today and what will sustain us for a long time to come. And so as it relates to our smart city topic, I've put some technologies up on the screen for everybody to think about because we can look at building all these smart cities, whether it's in existing cities or new. But for crying out loud, let's stop with ridiculous goals if we are not ready to actually embrace accepting technologies. Because I see it all the time, net zero by X. But I still see cities being built like they were 50 years ago. And so how can we change that? Not, of course at the corporate level, but we also at the individual level. What's your next house going to look like? What's your next house or car or mobility preference going to look like? This car actually that's on this screen was something that I learned about 2.5 years ago. And it looks like a car from the Jetsons, American cartoon. And so you think, that's 10 years from now. Well, I tell you, that car is actually being built today in Okotoks, Alberta, which is a tiny little town just outside of Calgary. So we need to imagine a world that is possible, but it's the actions that we take on a daily basis based on our trust and ability to co-create, respect each other, be sustainable, because every project that I want to touch has to surpass my life on this planet. I want to be a good tenant to this planet, and I hope you all do too. And I plan to live for a long time, by the way, so I will be doing a lot of work between now and then. And so if I may ask everybody to take away on sustainability is the planet, integration of technologies, and really how we treat each other so that I can leave the planet knowing that I will be respected even after I'm gone. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. You may have noticed the table of Boskia at the entrance. Have you noticed the table of Boskia at the entrance? Yeah, they are measuring our carbon print at this Peace City World Congress.
Yes.
So it's interesting that you contribute to that.
And I didn't even know, so there you go.
Yeah, so they are at the entrance. Thank you very much. The time has come for us to listen to Dr. Divaldo Rezende. Dr. Divaldo Rezende is CEO at Biodiversity and Ecosystem Futures and also Co-Restore companies. Do you want to speak from here or from there? Yeah, please.
Yep. Well done. Hello, everybody. I just arrived from Brazil to attend this conference. Thank you very much, and I'm very honored to be here to share some issues related to smart cities, carbon market, and climate change. Our companies are Co-Restore and BEF, Biodiversity Ecosystem Futures. Basically, our agenda today is showing the sustainability opportunity of the smart cities and how we can combine that with climate change and carbon market as an opportunity to generate carbon credits and to generate income to support projects on the smart city and also beyond the smart city in a very sustainable way. And also some information about us and our holistic approach. The idea here is I organize a very technical deck that I'm going to leave to be distributed for all the participants. And I'm going to be quite specific in my presentation, just to bring some issues that is important to discuss and to highlight during this conference today. In terms of smart cities, I'm not expert in smart cities, but all these words show the potential opportunities: renewable energy, mobility, urban spaces, energy efficiency, and all those activities could reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. And this is important to notice. But to claim credits from those activities, it's important to have standards, methodologies, and procedures to generate carbon credit to the voluntary international market or the compliance market. This is a say from McKinsey that is quite important. Everything that we are thinking in terms of smart cities, the digital technology, and also sustainability should be incorporated since the beginning. If not, it's something that really need to be look again and try to do the best, you know. Some information that everybody knows about it is in terms of connectivity, climate mitigation, climate adaptation, and all the interactions that those activities could have in a smart city and environment in terms of climate change and carbon market. One important topic is smart city is equal low carbon economy that is equal generation of carbon credits. How to do that? This is something quite important and strategic. I don't know if everyone here is familiarized with the UNFCCC, the United Nations FCCC, that is in charge for all the activities related to climate change. We had some years ago the Kyoto Protocol, and now we are under the Paris Agreement. And on top of that, we also have a voluntary international carbon market scheme that is generating opportunity in different areas. And this is quite relevant in terms of global greenhouse gases, in terms of global emissions. We are talking about carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and other gases. It's not only carbon, but carbon is the main gas that normally we talk about it, and it's the most well-known. What is the value of the carbon market? The value is reducing emission, developing projects that sequesters and avoid carbon emission, supporting nature-based projects, transfer clean technologies. A lot of technologies could be used in terms of climate change and monitoring and other activities, and supporting sustainable development. There are two carbon markets that is well known. One of them is the compliance market. We have the European market, we have the UK market, we have the California market, we have the China market, and also we have a voluntary market that is the size of around $5 billion at the moment. Compared to the compliance market is nothing in terms of size, because the compliance market is something around $215 billion. But the voluntary carbon market gives the opportunity for normal people, for local community, for municipalities to generate carbon credit and bring to the market. There are six core principles of carbon credits. They need to be certified, real, additional, independent verified, unique, and traceable. And this is a quite interesting issue in terms of traceable, because you can use technologies like blockchain to make this carbon credit traceable, for example. In terms of the market, you have the carbon standards that set the rules. We have the VCS, VERA. We have the social carbon standard, for example. And also, we have the gold standard. These are the three top standards on the market. I was a creator of the social carbon standard 20 years ago, together with some colleagues from Italy and Brazil. What is important to understand is that to generate those carbon, for example, let's say we're going to a city and we're going to support that city to be a smart city in terms of mobility. Of course, it's not only mobility, but we're going to change the fuel from the bus from gas to electric bus or gas. There are methodologies that you can calculate the avoidance of carbon or the reduction of emission of carbon from that project, for example. And then we can claim that on the market, we can sell that, and the resources we can use to support sustainable development activities that will be not supported by other fundraising, for example, or we can make better quality of life for the inhabitants of the smart cities, for example. In terms of the carbon credit, we have a very rigid and robust documentation process. You have the project idea note, that is the initial concept, and then there is the project design. Normally in the market they call project design document. Then the registration in one of the standards, VCS, social carbon, gold standard. Validation, monitoring, verification, and the issuance of the credit. Normally, from the beginning to the first issuance, we are talking about 2 years. 2 years to generate the first carbon credits from any projects or specific projects. It's time consuming, as you can see. This is a quite interesting table because show the areas that we could identify projects that could generate carbon credits. Highlighted in yellow, all the sectors that could be focused on the smart cities, for example. Energy efficiency, fuel switching, fugitive emissions, industrial gases, manufacture, renewable energy, transport, and waste management. This is quite interesting to note that areas is most of the areas that we deal in terms of smart cities in the day by day. The message that I want to bring is it's possible to add value, not only in terms of financial value, but in terms of sustainable development and ESG in smart cities when we look on climate change and carbon markets. This is our organization. We have Co-Restore. Co-Restore is our advisory firm that is a boutique consultants based in London. And we work supporting different organizations with a holistic approach in terms of climate, finance, energy, and ESG. We're delivering lasting impact. This is what we offer. In terms of achieving net zero, as my colleague said before me in this panel, is something quite important, but you need to work hard since the beginning. It's not something that you're going to say Shazam and the city will be net zero, you know. And the other important thing is carbon credit, trade and generation could add value. There are demands for good projects in the market. There are supply also of good projects to the market. And this is important to understand. Also, nowadays, we talk about funding projects. Sustainable finance is the new word of the day. We can have that through green bonds, private finance for carbon projects, infrastructure finance, and we create a new mechanism, a new financial mechanism called Green Impact Unit that is quite strategical also in terms of the carbon market. And BEF is a registry service, a marketplace, and a fundraising. It's high-level quality and security using blockchains in a registry marketplace and fundraising. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and it's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Divaldo.
Yep.
We are happy to keep you a few days with us.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Too long.
Now, it's my honor to invite Professor Dean Rakic, Chief Scientist at Caucasia Consulting, to talk about smart blockchain for smart cities.
Just left it. That's okay. Thank you. Just not to break the occasion of talking from this point during this panel.
That's good.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you once again for having me here. Just a brief introduction about me. I'm not just a professor because I'm dealing as a chief scientist and leading a few teams on the blockchain research and the blockchain patent development. Last few years, me personally, I have already developed a few patents and filed for the blockchain technology and implementation from different industries, especially in the IoT, which is directly connected to the smart cities that we're talking about as for now. Looking for smart blockchain, someone will ask, is it a blockchain not enough? Is just adding a smart as a prefix will be sufficient? For some point of cases, yes. When we start talk about smart cities, we cannot just avoid a point and thinking about what we are already mentioned here, a digitization and digital transformation. What actually that means, no matter if it is a part of the sentence or accompanying with some other words, and no matter from which area, from which industry, which field actually comes from, it is in meaning that the digitization and digital transformation gives an ability that any asset that we can have nowadays in our environment can be digitized, no matter if this asset is tangible or intangible. But what happens when we start and a little bit deeper dive into this transformation? We got a lot of terms, which a little bit looks like a mess from various points, and in most cases, not understandable or misunderstandable from the audience and the worldwide population and citizens. What is the point leading us to this complexity of different technologies and different sources that would accompanying together put into the smart city, actually? Just one goal. We need that for the smart living. Again, what is about smart living? As our life are not enough smart, we as a human are enough smart with all our senses and all human environment that we satisfying. But smart living means also to give an ability to any person, to any citizen, to any capita to live free. Means to be a self-awareness of any person and to give an ability to accompany with any environment as a citizen in the center. Means to be a citizen-centric at any environment that we can imagine nowadays or in the near future. That's nice, that's fine. But using the technology, using all these things, we actually approach the first barrier. The first barrier is called, just a simple word, a challenge. What challenges can we approach just from the point of talking about and going towards a smart cities? Putting it in the center, talking about a smart city, we mean that we need to have to be an intelligent, sustainable city as a part of these areas, these industries, these different fields. No matter if we're talking about just energy, whatever, existing energy trends or renewable energies. About the food, we need to have a food on a different levels. So water and the water security, how to secure the equipment, everything that is actually in the world of food and water supply management. Wealth funds, banks, fintech, financial institutions, and especially healthcare or digital healthcare or e-health that we are approaching nowadays. Normally, the education, transport and logistic, all kind of supply chains and building rural and urban balance between different cities. That is part of the innovation construction and the smart living, actually, and will towards with the peace cities and village projects as we are talking here at the moment. But how to go there? An efficient and sustainable cities actually is something that we have to build. These challenges comes through the points: a lack of infrastructure, data privacy and transparency, as the previously mentioned. We do not have a sufficient trust between the domains. Then the conflict in standards. So many standards we have to accomplish them and to the unique way or near unique way to narrowing at the same point. Difference in architecture platforms, no matter which industry we are talking about. So many platforms we have. It's a completely different in their architecture and their approach. A possibility of interference, then the source complexity on information technology domains. It's a various areas accomplished into the information technology, actually. Then the reduced communication at task analysts. It's not so easy, especially when we talk about a blockchain, just to fight about anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism and all of these things. It's a huge barrier. And at the end, no unified coding system. It leads us to the overall system limitation, caused a level of fragmentation and the absence of sufficient level of confidence on the data transaction layer. Talking about a data transaction layer lead us to the common denominator or the common ingredient of the smart city. No matter which industry or which obstacle or challenge we're mentioning. It's just one simple word, data. But at the data level, we approach the main problem, the main obstacle. It's called interoperability. What's about interoperability? It's a long word, 14 characters actually, and it's about the degree to which two or more systems can usefully exchange a meaningful information via interface in particular content. That means, in a simple words, giving an ability to any domain, to any system, no matter on the place of existence, to have a common language to each other. That means from the real world to the abstraction, given a point where all of them can exchange any kind of data, no matter in which standards or in which format they are issued or as a source have in their contextual point. The ability of information system to work together and across organizational boundaries, that means to be in order to advance the effective information delivery for individuals and communities and the whole society. And the interoperability is pretty complex and hard to establish, especially at the moment, at the technology that we're approaching at the smart cities nowadays. How are we going further? There are just a list of challenges. It is not necessary to go and to explain each of them because it's just a part of the most common challenges that we have at the level of interoperability. Sources, trusted, so many differentiation, and the landscapes, coding systems, something that we already mentioned. No necessary. Just go further. A legal aspects of data interoperability. It's another point that we have to just to mention, that we have the data usage conditions, which has to be clearly and readily determinable for each of the data entity, no matter from which source they comes. Then the conditions and the legal access by users and use each of data entity without seeking authorization from data right holders. That's everything about that interoperability approach as a challenge, or in the most cases as an obstacle that we have to overcome. How? I will introduce you a smart blockchain solution for smart cities, which actually a new independent patent and a part of the research of the last few years of my team about a new consensus protocol, which actually belongs not to any existing blockchain, but belongs to the layer 0 protocol, means in the blockchain infrastructure, and goes from the 0 layer, from the ground of all blockchains, and goes vertically through all of them. But it's not only about the blockchain. It's about the bridging centralized and decentralized world. It's a unique consensus protocol which actually can collaborate between all traditional systems that already exist, no matter without harming any existing standards and protocol that already on the market. No matter if it is a government, departments, any kind of data source can be put into the level of this blockchain. Then we can accomplish all decentralized technologies, no matter at what layer of the blockchain they exist, no matter which are they using smart contracts or any other technology that already exists in the blockchain, without harming their existence. We just put them at the same place with proof of interoperability, which actually builds a completely new way at the layer 0 of infrastructure of the blockchain. The proof of interoperability has already published as a scientific paper, as a white paper, as a patent file, and has a lot of benefits. I don't want to go all of them through, and because we need a few hours to explain all of each beneficial points. But what is the most important part? There is pretty sustainable. Why? Because we not use any computing power anymore as some of the blockchains already use. There is no scalability problem. It's work in the real time. Actually, each transaction can be recorded to the blockchain as one block. And it's much more secure because it's built already on the quantum or post-quantum architecture with all encryption and data validation at a zero level incorporated into the consensus protocol, which actually built a platform for the data exchange from any sources, and from the zero layer goes up vertically to any data source and actually build an umbrella for all of these industries that came with their data into the smart city and go through. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dean Rakic. Last but not least for our presentations today, and congratulations for those who make it to the first 20% of this Congress. Dr. Bel Gacem Raggad, professor at Pace University. Are you comfortable talking from there, or you prefer talking from here?
I'll come over there.
Yeah, that's good. The floor is yours.
This is for slides?
Yes.
The white one?
Green for the next
For
one.
the next one. Thank you, Munir. Thank you all for being here. I just noticed that some of the slides are very detailed and complex, and this is not the forum for it. So I'm just switching to a motivational note. So I'm just try to summarize it for motivational purposes. So I'm going to speak a little bit about smart environment, digital transformation, taxonomy for DX, unfinished smart cities, IoTs, monetization, the economy of things, knowledge creation in IoTs, and foundation of smart cities. This is what, there is no really an ontology for a smart city. People do not know what a smart city is, and obviously people do not know what a peace city is. So my students have come up with some modeling for that. So the modeling is as follows. A peace city is a smart city. A smart city is an integration of smart environment. And a smart environment is an integration of smart communities, and a smart community is an integration of smart members of the communities. So it looks like this. We have members, you have communities, and you have the smart environment. But this is very similar to what we have in IoTs. So that means that we can model a smart city as a smart environment, as an IoT, but instead of having smart object, we're going to have human instead of objects. So the model is, the IoTs are very well handled, managed, and we have literature about them. So all of that apply to smart environments and enhance for smart cities. So what is digital? At the base, of course, there is, we need to have data. So there are two ways to do it. There is digitization, where we go from uniform to analog to digital. But there is also digitalization. So the digitization itself, it's not smart to have, because you will create data and non-data that you don't have analytics for it. So what is really important is when you digitize, you also think the future of your data, of your product. So you have to have ways to generate business value generation capabilities from it. If you don't have that, then it's not going to work for you. So there's the definition here. I'm just going to read it for you. Digital transformation is the continual digitization of the company for the creation of a lasting business value generation capability. As you see in here, it is not a software, it is not a process, it is not a business model, it is not a solution to a problem, it is not an incremental improvement, and it is not an IT problem. So, the world, as you know, is full of facts. So the problem is not the availability of facts. We have raw facts everywhere. The problem is us. We cannot datify the raw facts so we can generate insights, business insights from them. So let's see how we can do that. So your world of facts can be decomposed in 4 types of what we call conceptual resources. The first important one is noise. Noise are raw facts for which you don't have a code system. So like you see 1, 1, you don't know whether it is 3 in binary or 11 in decimal. So the data is raw facts for which you know the code system, like T equals 32 Fahrenheit, if I know the T, if I know the equal, and so T is 32 Fahrenheit. But in order to have information, then you have 3 properties to apply. You have to have a network of facts, you have that network of facts have to generate apprehension, and it has to generate what we call a Bayesian update. For example, if you ask me when does this conference end, I say it is January the 28th. So that is information to you, for example, because you didn't know that. But if a newcomer sits down over there and asks me the same question, and I say, hey, it is January 28th, it's information for him, but not for you. So that is what's called the Bayesian update. And knowledge is simply the, usually from one piece of information, you can generate an infinite space of inferences. Some of the inference we can actually test and validate and use as rules of thumb for the future. That's what we consider as knowledge. So this is why our own way to really transform the world of raw facts into meaningful information. I'm going to skip this. So the taxonomy of, this is a taxonomy for digital transformation, but this is the same taxonomy for big data. If you're familiar with big data, I am the one who created taxonomy some time ago. So this is the same one I use because they're very similar. So you see that only that circle in blue, that means a lot to us. But for the rest, like for big data, it's only 20% of it is actually data. The 80% are other raw facts, like other objects. So we try to datify it, but we can do for some and not for some. So what we can do, what we can datify is called gray data. So gray data is actually non-data, but for which we have a lot of information we can analyze. We can have business insights from it. And what we call here the dark hole non-data, that's for big company to dig in. They have the power of technology. They can do that. So before I go further, let's see in this forum, let's see how smart we are and how sustainable we are. Okay. In an IoT, smart objects are not actually smart. They are smart because they have actuators that act upon the data they have. But they are only smart if they can use great data in addition to what is available to them to do the same thing. They don't do that. So they are not that smart. Forget about that. Smart contracts. Smart contracts are not contract or not smart because they only act on their own, but they don't use intelligence. So I'm just talking about the use of word smart. Smart city, I don't know what it means. So the same thing, how sustainable we are. Everything you're going to see in here, and probably what you see in the future in Peace City, is based on blockchaining. Even the economy of things I'm introducing is based on the economy of things. But it's based on blockchaining. But blockchaining has a security problem, has what's called the Sybil attack. And unfortunately, the only solution they had for the Sybil attack is the POW, the power of work, which is a disaster for the environment. And everything we have is based on that. So one of the first objectives of a peace city or a smart city is to work on that. Like from now to 2030, probably we have another solution for the Sybil problem instead of using the POW. So knowledge in IoT, there are 3 types of knowledge. Just to give you an idea, an IoT should be thought of as many devices connected together, sometimes virtually, sometimes physically. But whatever it is, you're going to have a gateway, whether it is physical or virtual, and there are many of them. So there is knowledge created at, this is what we call end user, this is what we call edge computing. There is knowledge that is being created at the device, but there is knowledge that is being created at the gateway, and that is fog computing, fog knowledge. And at the cloud, you know, you get all the data over there, and there is more general knowledge on the IoT. So it looks something like that. So what you see there is the VLAN and VLANs, and there's something connecting them all together to the cloud. And you have 3 types of knowledge. So with all of that, this new change in technology have changed everything. And it's very important to change those things, those theories. So here I give an example of the theory of management. All of it is no longer good because at the time of Mintzberg, at the time of Fayol and Weber, they didn't have data roles and cyber roles to take care of, so they didn't know that. But everybody is using those theories. These are the only management schools we have. We don't have. So it's very important that people get together and do further research on that with the coming of the new roles. So that's probably mainly it. So I just want to give some motivation on how technology changed, how sustainable we are, how smart we are, and we have to take care of all of that in developing whatever system we're going to use in smart cities and peace cities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bel Gacem. Thank you very much. Just to mention very quickly what is a smart city and what is a peace city, because we may need to understand that. To make it very simple, a smart city is probably the combination between the traditional construction and the use of intelligence, whether it is technology, whether it is something smart. Okay? Now, what do we call a peace city? I mean, the question is a very good question. I thank you very much for asking that. What we call a peace city is, first, it is a smart city. So it is the combination of construction, traditional construction, or traditional urbanism, and technology. But what does it take to move from a smart city to a peace city? There are 3 layers. The first layer is, if we want to have peace cities, people living in peace, because it's all about people. If we don't have investments, we can do nothing. Once we have the investors, the investments, and money is not lacking. There is a lot of money. How can we convey this money into projects? So investors invest in profitable projects. So we need, of course, to have profitable projects. Who can make profitable projects? For that, we need industry leaders. Okay? Those industry leaders, if they have the investment, they know the needs, or at least if they don't know the needs, they can ask about them, because there are a lot of people who know what their needs are. And then we can have projects that are addressing needs and that are financeable, bankable, that we can invest and profit from it. And those industry leaders, once they invest, they can create jobs. And job creation and wealth creation is the foundation of peace. Societies where we have work, where people can generate wealth, where people can be proud of their work, then they can live in peace. If we don't have enough wealth creation, then we have issues, social issues, mental health issues. So it's really important that, and this is not a question for Peace City World. Peace City World cannot address this alone. We have the conviction that this is an ecosystem opportunity. And this is why it's important for us, and we strongly believe that this 17th Sustainable Development Goal is important. And this is why when we show on the board earlier, I don't know if you can put that image, how many flags we had. This is all, not the ad for Peace City World, this is an ad for an ecosystem where all the partners can bring their value and all the investors can bring their value and all the industry leaders can bring their value, and together we can build something that is sustainable. So I hope it clarifies a little bit what a Peace City concept is. It is still a smart city, but we are bringing, or we are inviting, I would say this. To be honest, we are inviting investors, we are inviting industry leaders, and we are inviting citizens to be part of it. So I hope this clarifies it. I thank you very much for your attention. I'm happy that we are freeing the space at 5:30. We still have 8 minutes if anyone has a question. Because at 5:30, all this is going to move away, and the ballet will be preparing the stage for themselves tonight. They will be ready. We are invited at 9, actually, here. And keep in mind, we are having dinner here in the Palacio at 7:30. So go out, get some rest. Sunshine is still there for another hour. Enjoy Salamanca, and see you back here at 7:30. Would that be okay? Thank you.